Kathy?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the RIMA conference. My name is Kathy Mahoney, and I'm the Center Director for Polaris MEP. We are the nonprofit partner for Rhode Island's manufacturing companies. And no matter which manufacturer I talk to, no matter what industry segment or location in Rhode Island they are, everyone is worried about workforce, whether it be their current workforce or their future workforce. Specifically, they're asking, how do I keep their skilled workforce that they currently have? And how do they find new workers? Today's session is all about finding solutions to the common and urgent problem of finding and retaining your workforce. When you were entering the session, Erin asked you about a poll, which kind of addresses the issues that we're going to be talking about today. So don't forget to fill that out. So again, welcome to the workforce session for the RIMA Spring Conference. We're pleased to have everyone here. Polaris MEP is honored to be a key supporter of this important event. This session will define workforce opportunities that companies are facing today and how you can best prepare for your future. The agenda reflects the yin and the yang of the workforce crisis. How do you retain your current workforce, handle the knowledge that may be walking out the door due to retirements, and also prepare for your future employees. Retention is as critical as hiring if we are to successfully make it through the current workforce crisis and become more resilient. So how do you prepare to set your company up for the long-term success? We'll be moving quickly. There's a lot to cover. So just some basic Zoom reminders. Please use the Zoom chat feature to pose your own questions. If our panel cannot address your question during this session, we will definitely get back to you. And if you think of a question or comment after the session, please feel free to reach out to any of the panelists. Polaris MEP is here to help manufacturers in Rhode Island with their top line, their bottom line, and their pipeline. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce our very distinguished panel of speakers. Today, we're sharing the perspective of our workforce expert, Lindsay Brickell with Polaris MEP. And we also have an experienced solution provider with Phil Ward. He's a project manager with Polaris MEP, and the perspective of a leading manufacturing company, Miko Hurley from Saint-Gobain. And you'll be hearing from each of those in a little bit. For those in the audience who haven't worked with us yet, a little bit about Polaris MEP. Our sole mission is to help manufacturing companies, small and medium-sized companies, to improve, grow, and increase profitability. We are part of a national network of 51 MEP centers. There's an MEP center in every state and Puerto Rico. And we are the business unit of the URI Research Foundation. This means we draw on national and local partner connections to help Rhode Island manufacturing companies. We work with the best resources to help our clients grow and improve. Just like you and your company, Polaris MEP is measured on its success. We are measured by the impact we have on our clients. In order to be successful, the work we do must produce an impact for our clients. We are not successful unless our clients are successful. So any engagement with Polaris MEP, 6 months to a year after that engagement, the company is surveyed by an independent third party, and that's where we get these numbers from. Those measurable impacts are reduced expenses, jobs retained or created, and sales. Jobs is why we are here today. In 2020, despite the challenges of COVID, we helped clients add or retain nearly 800 jobs over the last year. We do that in a variety of ways, some of which will be highlighted today and were also visible on the previous slide. The interesting component is that as an MEP center, on average, our clients receive, for every dollar they invest in training with us, a $13 investment on their client. So let's begin with the experts. First, a little bit of reality on the workforce situation and where it is today. I'm not going to read these numbers to you. You can certainly see them on the screen. The statistics around the future of manufacturing are disturbing, as you can see by these numbers, and something organizations such as RIMA and Polaris MEP work towards improving every day. A recent MPI study stated that 80 to 90% of manufacturing companies are having difficulty finding workers. Whether a company is in manufacturing or any other industry, the number of people that are available for the job openings are just not there. So I applaud all of you for being here today to prepare for how to make your company the best it can be for your current employees and your future employees, and also looking to become an employer of choice for your company. Each of the following presenters will outline some steps that each of you can take today to prepare for tomorrow.
All right, Kathy, thank you. My name's Phil Ward. I'm a project manager at Polaris MEP. I think all of us have been hearing about these scary statistics around the aging workforce and the fact that markets are growing, continue to grow in the world, and there are just not enough manufacturing employees available for us to use. And I'm really noticing it's really starting to hit home now, especially after COVID, and markets are starting to pick up, and pretty much every company that I'm working with is trying to hire in some fashion, right? And you know what I'm hearing is this, you know, hey, we're trying to hire, but we can't get anyone. We did hire someone, they last a week or two, and then they just leave, right? So let's take a look at this retention problem kind of from a worker's perspective, right? If I went out and I talked to the people that have already left your company recently, you know, what would they tell me? Would they tell me that they were always learning something new and they were gaining new skills? Would they say that their boss was a great coach and mentored them along with their career and helped enable them to grow and be successful? Would they say that they worked on a great team, right? That accomplished more than they had ever thought possible? Would they say that they knew exactly what was expected of them when they went to work and they got feedback on how they were doing and how to improve? Most likely the answer is no, all right? Probably what I would hear is something like, well, yeah, there was no growth opportunity. It was just a dead-end job, right? I just did the same thing day in and day out. All my boss wanted was output, output, output. My boss did not help me even though I asked for help. And you'll hear things like, I just didn't trust my boss, right? And the reality today is that the available employee pool is shrinking, right? And it's only going to get worse in the future if we, you know, quickly looked at the statistics that Kathy just showed. And one of the issues is you're not going to be able to buy the skills you want in the future because they're not going to be there available, right? So it's going to be imperative that you retain and hold on to your employees. And if you are able to hire new employees and attract them in, it's going to be even more important that you keep them, right? So to do this, everybody's going to have to revisit their business strategy, right? We're going to have to all make a concerted effort in the learning and development of the existing employees that we have. You're going to have to invest in your existing leadership team. And by continuously providing new learning and personal development, people see opportunity to grow and they're going to want to stay in your company. When people get to gain new skills and knowledge through quality training, they go home at night feeling satisfied and confident that they can do a good job for that company. When you spend one-on-one time with your employees, either through training or face-to-face meetings, you're dedicating time to them and you are showing them that they are important and they are valued. This will significantly reduce your turnover rate in the future. All right, and when you treat your employees as individuals, and you form relationships with those employees, what happens is trust and respect is developed, right? And when you have trust and respect for a company you work for, you're going to show loyalty to that company. So respect for people, right? This is one of the primary tenets that you learn about when you study the Toyota production system. They always talked about this respect for people. And I'll be honest, for years, I would read this phrase and I really struggled with it. I didn't understand really what it meant. You know, just about every organization I've ever worked in, somewhere in their mission statement would say something like, well, we value our people, or people are our greatest asset, you know? Well, what I've realized over time is what respect for people means is it doesn't mean that you just give people everything that they want. That's not showing them respect. But what it does mean is you enable them with the skills that they need to grow and be successful. Okay? You provide them with clear expectations so that they know what is expected of them and they know how to behave and react. You give them timely and honest feedback, both positive and negative. All right? You also need to tell people in advance about changes in the organization that are going to affect them or their job. And you need to position them in a job that best uses their abilities, right? This is one of the things that's been added to what used to be the 7 wastes, or now we call the 8 wastes. And that's not utilizing employees' skills properly. Because if you're not, it's just considered waste. Right? Now, when your leadership team provides these 5 foundational needs, they're going to have good relations with their employees. And when employees feel that they have a good relationship with their employer, they'll want to stay and help that company be successful. Okay? So I'm sure that everyone on this call can personally relate to the fact that the #1 reason that people leave their jobs is because of their relationship with their boss or their manager. Okay? So let's see how we can develop your leadership team.
Thank you, Phil. Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Brickell, the Workforce Manager at Polaris. And I want to talk to you about a couple of resources that are available right now. The first one being leadership development. There are a couple options I want to discuss. One, these are all available to Rhode Island manufacturers and companies that support manufacturing. And what it is it's three levels of group sessions for leaders where you would send someone. It's fully grant subsidized, or customized programming that can be tailored for the need, using in partnership with either Polaris MEP, other third-party candidates, or the Leadership Partnership of Rhode Island. You'll see their logo down in the right corner. So Polaris already partners with a variety of folks to help you develop these leadership skills in your teams. One of the biggest things we hear about is how folks that are really great at production roles move into these supervisory positions without the skills to lead or supervise. People are great at doing their jobs, they're hard workers, they show up on time, but then when they get into that supervisor level, they don't have the skills or resources to understand the best way to supervise or manage other folks. That was one of the goals of the Leadership Partnership of Rhode Island. So they have this level 100 like new or emerging leadership training that's available through partnership with Real Jobs Rhode Island and Back to Work to provide this for companies at no cost to send several people to the training in order to get them ready for the next position. and that's not so much the people that aren't being recognized for leadership, but the folks who are getting into those positions and then realize they're absolutely unprepared. So their teams suffer, or they might end up leaving the company after that. There's then further leadership training through this organization, like a experienced leadership development or coaching or mentoring development. And those are also provided in partnership with the Leadership Partnership of Rhode Island and Real Jobs. This is also customizable for your company. So if you're not looking to just send 1 or 2 people out, if you brought a variety of people in and are looking to skill up a group of emerging leaders, there are programs that can be tailored directly for your company that we can do on site at your company. We've had really great results with this. Most recently, we did a training partnering between the leadership partner consultants who work with URI and Honeywell to do it on 3 different shifts. So that's something that a lot of consultants might not be open for, but making sure that they could train on all 3 shifts was a critical strategy for Honeywell. So very customizable and accessible. Real Jobs Rhode Island has made it really possible to help make the cost of leadership training that's customized on site for your company affordable for the companies. So if you needed like a larger bulk, that would be the strategy I would go with. If you're looking to find out when those classes are running or interested in talking about developing your own leadership training in-house, I would suggest that you reach out to me and I will work with you to get to that next step. Also available is, in somewhat of the same fashion, is the Phoenix Partnership Lean Training. These are fully funded lean manufacturing courses in partnership with Real Jobs Rhode Island funding sources. Excuse me. This has been going, we're in the 12th cohort of this level 100. It's the manufacturing lean essentials. And this has had really positive feedback from the participants in it. So again, 12th cohort, there's been enough demand to keep this running over the last 4 years, and it's been improved incrementally. People that have attended the course have spoke specifically to the fact that they appreciate the investment that their companies are having in them. It feels like they're being more valued. Retention rates in the first 8 cohorts, so I don't have data for the last ones, but retention rates among people that had gone through this course were higher than the general population by a significant amount. It was a small sample size, so I don't want to give, but it was a 20% higher retention rate over those 8 cohorts. If you want more information on how that data was collected, I'll be happy to give it to you. But more importantly, was them saying, the folks that went through this saying that they valued that they were being identified for an investment in their company. Now that investment didn't cost dollars for the training, but it did cost time, like time off a production floor or time from supervisors or managers. And we worked with, that one is run through a partnership with New England Tech. And again, the Rhode Island Department of Labor and Training, so they could provide it free cost. And they also provide funds for childcare and mileage reimbursement in case people have to attend in times that aren't their shift time. Those classes, for example, include Intro to Lean, Six Sigma, 5S, quality, safety courses. There's a level 200 that goes more into standard operating procedure, process design. So I'm happy to speak more about all of those. You can access them at the link on this slide. My email is on the leadership side. You'll see it come popping up a bunch. So I'm happy to talk to anyone that wants to understand these more. Due to the demand from the employers, the Lean course was actually started virtually, and we've had really good feedback on how it's gone. So if you're interested in that, that's going to be running again soon. We have kind of an exciting announcement. Due to a new partnership with Tooling U, we're going to be introducing a nationally proven online training in Rhode Island. This has been really beneficial to small and medium-sized businesses. And we are working with them to create first 3 bundles of training pathways based on what employers have said their greatest needs are right now. So the specific pathways we've developed are machining, maintenance, and smart manufacturing. Although there are plenty of more options, these are the three we're talking about right now. There's hundreds of classes offered in each pathway, all developed with impact from manufacturers around the country. And to pilot this in Rhode Island, we are going to give away access to the Tooling U pathways. One company would be able to enroll 10 to 15 individuals. So this is a value of about $5,000 over the training period. And each of these classes take about an hour. So it's not like every person that signs on is going to be in front of a computer for 8 hours. They're really manageable chunks. I'm not in production, but I went through these to test them, and I really enjoyed how they gave information in consumable sections. But if you want to apply for this raffle, again, no cost, no strings there. If you can, the only thing you'll have to do is have a conversation about how you like. So we will like to talk about how you like this tool, so we can understand how it could benefit other manufacturers. But you could hit the bit.ly link at the top to register. I believe it's on the last slide as well, for the raffle. So yes, moving on. I got really excited about that one, sorry. Incumbent worker training funding. Polaris is the workforce intermediary for the Department of Labor and Training in the manufacturing sector and for the Governor's Workforce Board. So we manage matching reimbursable grants of up to 50% for continuing education, training, upskilling of your incumbent employees. So those usually cap out at about $30,000, a max over a 12-month period, and a max of $5,000 per employee, and generally around 2 grants within a 12-month calendar year. And if you're looking to do customized in-house training, this is probably the best way to do it. And then we believe that one of the best bangs you get for incumbent worker training grants is through training within industry, which Phil is going to talk about now. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Lindsay. Appreciate it. I'm sure that many of you have heard this term, training within industry, or it's known as TWI. Most people will recognize this marketing poster that I'm showing here. This is Rosie the Riveter. She was the poster child for this program. But what really is it? Right? TWI, Training with Industry, it was one of the first emergency services that was established by the US government after the fall of France at the beginning of World War II. And the workshops that were developed have literally been used on millions of employees with significant results, right? And people joke that here was a government program that actually worked, right? So this quote that I have up on the board is from the War Powers Commission, right? And it states that the TWI was developed to help industry help itself, to produce more materials than have ever been thought possible and at a constantly accelerating speed. And this was to win the war. And, when I look at that, I think, how different is that than today for every single company, every manufacturing company, right? Instead, you're not just competing with somebody in New Jersey, you're now competing worldwide, right? And we've got to produce more than ever with less resources at an ever accelerating pace, right? So there's no difference today. Now we know how successful this effort was during World War II. I love the example of the Willow Run plant that was run by Ford Motor Company. And they were building the B-24 Liberator, the large bomber. And when they first started out, they could barely get more than a couple of planes out of that plant a week. And after 3 years, they were producing 1 plane every 63 minutes coming off of that line. Now, when the War Department developed training within industry, they quickly realized and figured out that the most effective way to help manufacturing was to focus all of their training efforts on their frontline leadership and supervisors, the ones that were leading and supervising the doers, the people that really added value, right? So within TWI, there were 3 main programs that were developed to help industry maximize production, right? The first one was job relations, right? They realized that the first priority was to ensure that the employee morale was high and it stayed there, right? They needed leaders who maintained good relations with their people and who could detect and resolve problems quickly, people problems, very quickly, before they got out of hand. The second program is called job instruction. And they realized that the next priority, once they had a good workforce that was happy, is they had to stabilize production. And they did that through standardized work. Okay. They achieved this through a simple method of training that was actually developed at the turn of the century. And it uses repetition, and it also uses a process of providing just a little bit of information at a time as you repeat the process to help people remember what they're learning, right? And one of the most important things is it stresses the reason why we want people to do work a specific way, all right? And what that creates is an employees that are very conscientious about the work they're doing. They understand why they're doing the work and what is right and what is wrong. And that is very powerful. The third workshop that was developed was called Job Methods. And kind of following the lean tools, this teaches leaders how to improve work, right? It helps them identify and eliminate waste. It helps them combine or eliminate operations just to make work more efficient. And so this tool allows your frontline workers to do and manage this themselves, right? So it is recommended to teach the TWI courses in this order to your leadership team, right? So the most important thing is first take care of your people. Second is stabilize your process through good, effective training. And then the third is now improve the process that you've established. Now, one of the reasons that the TWI programs, I believe, are so successful is because it's designed for manufacturers, right? Because the training the training impact is small. It's only 2 hours per day for 5 consecutive days for a total of 10 hours for each one of the programs. Now, everybody can afford to have somebody off the line for 2 hours. Now, you take them off the line for 8 hours, and that's a huge impact. But 2 hours we can all manage. And it's easy for the people that take the course to apply their learning because each course comes with a simple 4-step process, right? Now, some people might think that because these programs were developed, sorry, I jumped. It's a simple 4-step process. And what's also important is that they are all hands-on learning. And that really helps people to retain what it is they're learning. And this hands-on training enables your frontline leaders to, one, solve problems without the help of HR, understand what effective training is and how that effective training is impacts your production, and how to engage their team continuously to make improvements to the work environment. Now, some people might think that because the program was developed in the 1940s that it's outdated and no longer relevant. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true at all. These programs are just as effective today. And one of the reasons is because the way people learn, the way employees learn has not changed in 80 years. It is still just as effective. All right. Now, all of these programs help your leadership achieve work through your people. And that's what all leaders do. None of us actually do any value added we get work accomplished through our people. So your leadership will be creating engaged workers that have a greater sense of personal value. So there's going to be less turnover. You get new workers trained faster and they're more productive quicker, right? And that just saves your company a lot of time and money. And then the workers that are supported and challenged are going to be engaged, and they become directly involved and willing to contribute to your company's success. And this completely counters the old perceptions that manufacturing jobs are just boring and dead end. Kathy?
Muted.
Sorry about that, technical difficulty. So thank you, Phil. We'd love to know what are the priorities for upskilling in our state. After the spring conference, we'll be sending out a copy of this deck and we'll include a link to a short poll that you can identify your training priorities. We hope you'll take a couple of minutes to fill it out. So now we're going to talk about finding new workers. So the workforce realities, the skills gap in manufacturing is real. You've seen the numbers, you've heard Phil and I talk about it, but employers need bodies to train. So what manufacturers are telling me when I visit and what they're calling me about is exactly that. We need workers to train. And the programs that have been identified by Lindsay and by Phil are all working towards do exactly that, to help provide a workforce that can help us sustain manufacturing in Rhode Island. And this isn't just a Rhode Island issue. I'm hearing this across the national network with the other MEP centers. And we're all looking at ways to work together to address this issue with our clients. Supply chains and the employee base do not stop at the state borders. There are several programs across Rhode Island that also work with Connecticut and Massachusetts. We work together as a New England centers to make sure that each state has the workforce that they need when they're moving forward. So the poll that you had submitted, basically everyone that's filled it out so far, hiring was the highest priority, about 42%, and retaining was 8%. And then the balance of the 50% was all of the above. So these are clearly issues that every company is facing. And so now we have a company perspective. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Lindsay next. My apologies.
Thanks, Kathy. So I get emails every day. All of our project managers hear about it frequently. It's no secret that companies are looking to hire, and usually both like skilled and not very skilled positions. However, so as the workforce intermediary for manufacturing, one of the things we're supposed to be doing is help improve the pipeline for workforce candidates that are available for the companies. So we already talked a little about retaining workers and upskilling incumbent workers. What do you do when you need to find new people? I recognize a lot of names on the attendance list of people that I've worked with, been working with, trying to help, are starting to work with from companies who are just really looking to hire, which is a great indication. However, so what are we doing? Right now, so Skills for Rhode Island Future is one of our partners, and they're on this slide. So they have a site for both companies and job seekers, train to hire programs for employers. There's a link down there if you want to get to know them a little bit. We're working together to build capacity and build the number of folks that are getting into the manufacturing specific pipeline, whereas before some skilled workers weren't really looking at manufacturing. So we're trying to resolve how that is going. Part of that is looking at skills-based approach to recruitment rather than just the traditional job descriptions. So what I mean by that is if someone says, I'm looking for a CNC programmer with 3 to 5 years experience, I say, well, okay, so what do you need them to do? Because there might be people that have really great on-the-job experience for other companies, or have gone through really robust training programs that can do everything that a person has been able to do, but they're not meeting the threshold of that job description, those algorithms on Indeed that filter people out for jobs because they don't meet the exact credentials. So really thinking about like what skills are you looking for to hire, and the skills that might be transferable from other industries. So we can stop looking at people that have just worked in manufacturing and see what other positions and what other career areas are available. In addition to that, we have, if we want to go to the next slide, we are building a new pipeline with the career and technical programs, the CTE programs in the high schools, with the high school students that are looking to, that aren't planning to go right to college or want to examine other options that aren't in college. Now, there's always been some work between manufacturers and CTEs. Davies is a prime example of that. However, there's other career and tech programs in the state. And also, like, we haven't, as the workforce intermediary, we haven't done as good of a job of engaging directly with the CTEs as we might have. So we are looking at the way we're doing that, training, building in like seniors, graduating seniors from, like, so far we've got conversations going on with Davies, Coventry, Burrillville, West Warwick, and recruiting directly through those pipelines, as well as in community-based organizations, which haven't been a continuing pipeline. Sure, every once in a while, someone is identified to go in manufacturing, but we can do a much better job. So we're looking at more creative ways to identify skilled folks that could come in and hit the ground running. You take advantage of some of the incumbent worker training once they're already on, or go through a training pipeline, such as the SAMI machining program, the We Make Rhode Island production manufacturing program, the CCRI's Fast Track to CNC program, or a new program, such as one we're working on developing for mechanics because of the overwhelming need for mechanics and machine mechanics. So you speak to us, we hear you, we work with training partners and community-based organizations to meet your need. So that's what's going on there. What we have going on right now in terms of active programs, these are all in partnership with funding from Back to Work Rhode Island and Real Jobs Rhode Island. So we have SheWorks and Salesforce, which are all these programs for under and unemployed folks, and are with the understanding that they want to go into the manufacturing sector as soon as they finish. They are specialized training for tomorrow's workforce needs. So SheWorks is specifically targeting folks that can work remote positions. So these aren't traditional production roles, but we hear a lot of manufacturers who are having trouble with some data entry, some supply chain stuff that's not directly related to warehousing, or who might be able to bring someone on part-time remote and part-time in person. So this is training a whole group of people that have some barriers to traditional workforce, or just think their skills are going to transfer well to remote work. Salesforce training for folks that are going to build and operate Salesforce systems in manufacturing for companies that use it. Polaris use it. This is very handy to have someone that can customize and train you how to really take full advantage of it. And the YWCA has a Google IT and limited hands-on production training program that's mostly open to women who are looking to get into manufacturing training. So these are all programs that are running now. If you think you have a need for any remote-based work, please reach out to me and I can connect you with a bunch of folks who are really qualified to do that type of work. I realize that doesn't meet the most urgent manufacturing needs of many companies, but it's good to know that that's going on. So if you're interested in any of these, please reach out to me. Then we have the Fast Track to CNC program. This one is very near and dear to my heart. Some of the folks that are on here have been partners to the program. I see several actually that have both helped with the curriculum design, worked on the training, and have hired out of the program. So this is a program that develops manual and CNC machinists through a 20-week machine shop, like on-site machine shop program. The program was developed by a bunch of companies coming to the table, redlining curriculum with CCRI trainers to make sure that it was responsive to the needs of industry and not just academic standards. This one does yield college credit, so it was able to be industry responsive and create college credit, which doesn't always work, but this one does. If you're a partner to this program, what happens is we run programs, usually 24 people every 6 months or every 4 months. There's a job shadowing component where trainees can come on site when COVID's not happening and basically work every other week in your facility. So you can preview them, they can get exposed to other manufacturing environments. When companies take part in this, they usually hire better, like the most competitive trainees out of the program. And it's a really interesting, we just had a crew that's finishing up now, and most of them already have job offers, but not all of them. So if you're looking to hire, it's a great group. You can hit the bit.ly link there, or you can email me directly as well. Everything we do is driven by the input from manufacturers. So this is why I'm delighted to introduce Miko Hurley from Saint-Gobain. Saint-Gobain faces the same struggles you do with hiring and retention. The company has taken advantage of Polaris MEP's resources to meet those challenges.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Lindsay. I'm Miko Hurley. I am the shapes and powders strategist in our Saint-Gobain site here in Bristol. So part of my job is I'm the supervisor for production, quality, engineering, and maintenance for our site for a group of departments that produce parts for shapes and powders. So one of the things that kind of entailed was getting my team to be able to make decisions and be able to train themselves to do what they need to do to get work done. And so that's kind of where some of my interaction with Polaris MEP has come into play. We did the training within industry for the job instruction training at our site a few years ago. And so we've been trying to use those tools to, when we onboard new employees, to get them up to speed. So one of the things that came up to us is our workforce is, I think, is probably similar to everybody else's, where we have a lot of people on the verge of retirement. And actually, that's where the second part of Polaris MEP's program came in, was we had one of our quality technicians retired, and then one of my machinists applied for the job. And now before we could let him move into his new quality role, we had to backfill him in the machining role. So we had 2 machining positions open for like 3 months. We had a lot of people apply, not a lot of people show up for interviews, and it was kind of feeling a little hopeless. We got a stack of resumes from Polaris MEP, and we went to interview a bunch of them. So they showed up to the interview. So there's the first thing that went well for us. And a lot of the thing that was pretty interesting to me was some of the people that we were interviewing weren't necessarily had the 3 to 5 years experience in manufacturing. And so one of the guys we ended up hiring, actually, he'd been working in kitchens all his life, but he wanted to make a change, and COVID actually kind of triggered that. So when we were interviewing, I asked him, like, hey, how does your experience in kitchens kind of like apply to this manufacturing environment? And he said, well, 2 things. One is safety in the kitchen. You're around hot, sharp things and you need to be aware of what's going on. And 2, cleanliness. We need to keep a clean workstation. And so I told him, I was like, I didn't think there was a right answer to the question, but you just gave 2 right answers. So good job. So he ended up coming aboard, and then we hired another candidate through Polaris as well. And the thing that was awesome about the program too is they had really good foundational skills. So we were able to using the job instruction training and the foundation from their classroom work. We were able to get these guys up and running by themselves in like 2-3 weeks, which is a lot faster than we had seen in other onboarding processes. So it was really refreshing to see that we were able to take somebody and get them up to speed that quickly, because I mean, it's never good to offer somebody a job and like kind of string them along, be like, oh yeah, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So we were able to retain our quality technician and bring these two new guys on board. So it's really, I really did appreciate the things that they're doing. And it's one of these things that I'd read a book called Setting the Table by Daniel Meyer. It's the guy who founded Shake Shack. And there's a chapter in it called the 51% rule, where his theory is that 51% of any work is like the emotional ability to like be a decent human being at work. And you can teach the other 49%. And it's going to be more and more true when we come to fill these jobs that are popping back up, where people don't necessarily have the exact stuff the exact skills you need. I mean, we machine plastics, and if we take a metal machinist and bring them in, plastic reacts differently to getting cut than metal does. So even if we take a machinist with 30 years experience, there's going to be a learning curve to getting them up to speed. So using these tools is pretty helpful in getting everybody done. So I think that's all I have to talk about.
Thank you, Miko. Thank you, everyone, for sharing all this great information. Erin, I think you said we had a question.
We do, actually. Mike Schoenberger submitted one in advance. Mike, would you like to unmute or unstop your video and ask it directly, or would you like me to pose it to the panel?
You can post it, that's fine.
Oh my gosh, I have all the power and none of the responsibility. So Mike's question was a great one, and I think it's going to be one that probably each of our panel members have a different perspective on. And it was, what incentives are being used to help bring employees to your doorstep? Hiring and thinking of future employees, we try to provide the best possible benefits, but in the ever-changing hiring environment, keeping up with what future workers are looking for in their careers is critical. So thinking of those future workers, what incentives are being used or considered to help bring employees in to the doorstep?
Lindsay?
One thing I've heard recently, and this is recurring across the nation, is that when possible, those production facilities that are allowed to flex the shifts a little bit tend to be very successful in attracting candidates.
So I've heard the flex shifts as well, especially over the last few months, where families might have students at home with the virtual schooling and everything, having that ability to be flexible. Phil and Miko, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we've had pretty good, we actually do a little bit of flex schedule for most departments, and it's actually really helpful with us because people's home lives are constantly changing. So one of my employees, he used to work from like 4 in the morning till noon, but then he needed to start taking his granddaughter to school, and school starts at 8. So he shifted his schedule from midnight to like 8 in the morning. So it's obviously unique to us, or unique to this situation because of the nature of his work. But like flexing like that is pretty helpful. And then, I mean, I don't think I'm giving away any trade secrets, but building trying to build an engaged workforce to make a place where people that already work there want to come to is going to help to attract and retain people. Because as much time as we spend at work, there is time outside of work, and our best recruiting tool is probably our own employees.
I was going to say the same thing. Word of mouth is probably the strongest advertising. Okay? If people enjoy their work and want to come to work, then they're going to tell their friends and family.
That's been especially true for people that are located a little bit outside of the Providence area. Being able to recruit candidates and figuring out transportation issues like carpool has been a really successful. Not every company can do this, but that usually pairs with the word of mouth, where somebody has or knows somebody and they could commute together to a location. So again, not for everybody, but can be a creative solution.
Thank you, everyone. Those are some great responses. And thank you all for your great presentations too. I just have some wrap-up questions. So workforce development has traditionally been part of the responsibility of an HR department. Now, none of you are HR though. So why should a manufacturing company look at their workforce differently now as opposed to say 5 or 10 years ago?
One of the things that I find interesting about calling people assets is, like, I have a background in maintenance, and we need to take care of our assets to continue to make them work or get them to work. So improving on them, adding things to them is how we keep running, how we keep things working. I mean, we have machines in here that are older than me, but you can't tell that they're that old because we keep putting time and effort into it. So developing our workforce is kind of the same thing, where us as managers need to put time and effort and money into improving the skills of our workers, so that they can continue to produce. And then from the engagement point of view, making them feel like they are empowered to do what they need to do is another way that we can help retain them.
Thank you. That's great. So what would be your recommendation for the first steps for a company to start looking at growing their workforce for the future, both the current workforce that they have and the potential hires that they're looking to hire?
Well, I would recommend is that you focus on your leadership, your frontline leaders, right? They are the ones in the trenches actually helping keep your business running. And as Lindsay said, a lot of young leads or supervisors, they get promoted into these positions because they were really good at their job. And they're really not given skills in, how to manage people. And people are really complicated. That's not an easy thing to learn. And we might be able to work on a very complex piece of equipment, but understanding some people's minds can really be a challenge. And so my recommendation is really help your frontline managers and not only empower them, but enable them with the skills and the knowledge they need to be successful.
Lindsay and Miko, do you have anything to add?
Hey, I'm listening as much as I'm talking for this one.
I would really just say, if you're interested in, if you want to have a conversation offline, I'm available for one-on-one to talk about what is out there and what matches up with your needs. But identifying for leadership, like Phil said, and then putting a training plan in place to get them to that. Looking at TWI, especially, not only especially, but for your retiring workforce, so that you make sure you have the knowledge in place for those folks before they head out the door, and have it in the best possible way that is repeatable. That would be really critical.
Thank you, everyone. I'm getting the nod from Erin that it's time to wrap up, so everyone can move on to the networking session. I want to thank all three of you for this great presentation. Miko, the company perspective definitely added a lot to our presentation, and Phil and Lindsay, the expertise that you bring to this field is just amazing. So thank you very much. And thank you to all of our attendees. Thank you for coming, and I hope you all learned something, as I did as well, sitting here. So I'm like Miko, I was listening as much as I was speaking. And don't forget to go to the link on this screen, or Erin's going to send it out again.
Boy, are we such a well-oiled machine, huh? I put it in the chat. We'll put it back up on the screen.
All right. And so you can enter to win the Tooling U Pilot on-demand online classes to help you upskill your workers. And if you need that link again, don't hesitate to email any of us. Again, the 3 categories are machining, maintenance, or smart manufacturing. Or if you're looking for something besides those 3 and just want to learn more about Tooling U, give us a reach out. It is a new partnership for us, but it's an exciting one given the reputation and the expertise that Tooling U has. So we're excited for this new partnership. Here's our contact information. Here's my email address if anyone wants to reach out. I'm always looking to hear more about what's going on in Rhode Island and their manufacturing companies. So don't hesitate to ever call or reach out. Again, thank you all to our panelists for taking time out of your busy day to prep and deliver today. And also thank you for the participants for participating in our workforce program.